welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Excited to have you join us once again. We've been doing this session with client success for over a year now. It was March of 2022 that we started doing Workshop Wednesday, and I've been enjoying it. Putting these presentations together, and I hope that you have enjoyed them too, or at least you've been learning a little bit more about FleetCommander. Today's topic is on one of our back to basics. It's going to be covering the maintenance module. The concept of back to basics is that the second month of every quarter, what we want to do is we want to kind of roll things back and do our presentations as if we were going through implementation. So some of you are in the audience today that you may have the maintenance module. You might have gone through this type of training previously, or you may be about to go through this training. What we'll be doing is going through the basics of the maintenance module training. Training on the maintenance module takes our implementation team about 2.5 hours. So obviously we're not going to be covering all of the items that are pertinent to the maintenance module today, but we will be going through the very first portion of that to get everybody grounded in regards to what it takes to get the maintenance module up and running on a site. Before we begin, remember the session is being recorded, and that recordings and the slides will be available once that gets uploaded to our SharePoint folder. If you have questions, Kathy's going to be monitoring the chat for me on that. And if there's any questions that arise that are pertinent to the immediate topic at hand or portion of that topic at hand, we'll go ahead and she'll get my attention. We'll address it then. But if it's something that can wait until the end, then we'll address those at the conclusion of the presentation on that. And as you can see, you can add that to the chat. And we do encourage you, and we'll encourage you again to give us your feedback in regards to Workshop Wednesday. We are looking for new topics. We want topics to be relevant to your operation. And we have actually a couple of to be determined sessions that are coming up this year, because we're really hoping for y'all to give us some input on what you want to hear about. Today's agenda, as we've already announced, is on the maintenance module. We'll go through and take a look at the module features and the benefits of using our solution or to manage your fleet's maintenance needs. And along with that, we'll be walking through the basic and standard configurations that we go through once a client ends up deciding they want to use the maintenance module and what it takes to get that up and running, including creating providers, user permissions, creating parts, tasks, maintenance plans, assigning those maintenance plans to vehicles, and creating scheduled tasks. That being said, let's get into the presentation. So maintenance module. An overview of the maintenance module really starts off with just an overview of our product and our solution in general. FleetCommander bases its operations and its functions upon what we call our core product engine, and that consists of profiles to manage your users and your drivers, profiles to manage your assets, and then along with that core information, you're able to have oversight of your fleet, run reports, and view and interact with the fleet through the various interfaces, including the dashboards that we have. Now, along with that core, then we have the ability to actually expand out. Most of you may be currently using FleetCommander as the solution to manage your vehicle sharing. Along with that, you might have a key control system, and you might be monitoring your fuel. You might be involved in having telematics to give you information about your vehicles. You might be tracking risk management and accidents. What we're going to focus on, obviously, today is the maintenance module of FleetCommander. Again, this may be something that you currently have, or you may be attending this session with the interest of adding this to your current solution. If that's the case, then definitely reach out to us, reach out to Kathy, reach out to Joe. They'll be happy to assist you in adding that to your FleetCommander solution. Now, some of the features that the FleetCommander has in regards to maintenance on that, it gives you that real-time monitoring via dashboards in similar fashion of how you monitor your vehicle sharing, but it's a dedicated dashboard just for maintenance. There's also an interface for your shop manager, your technicians. They have their own dashboard. Likewise, FleetCommander will send out service alerts based upon the time or mileage or both, depending upon how you want to set that up. You also, FleetCommander has the ability to send out notifications to the owners or responsible drivers of a vehicle when it hits those service alerts. Along with that, with FleetCommander, you can open up work orders. You can close them as a shop manager or as a FleetCommander admin. And also, there's interactions within FleetCommander. It gives you notifications in regards to overdue work orders. It gives you estimated completion dates. It will help you track your tasks and work orders through graphics. And also, ultimately, what you're trying to accomplish is be able to keep a maintenance history and the costs involved with the upkeep of those vehicles and those assets within that core vehicle asset profile. That's how just an overarching view of how FleetCommander works in regards to the maintenance module. Along with that, in order to make that happen, what occurs is there's three things that need to be set up once your information is in regards to your vehicles, in regards to the name, the make, model, those type of things. The basics of a profile are established. At that point, what needs to happen is you create and set up the track in order to keep records of the maintenance on vehicles. That is done through creating preventive maintenance or repair tasks. You name those, you can set the parameters for those, including miles, the days. Those will be what shows when service needs to occur. There's also then warning miles that can be set up to give you alert ahead of the time of service. So if you want to receive a notice a week before the scheduled date of a service, or maybe 100 miles before service is necessary, those tasks can be set up in that way. You can also set up default costs, default providers, default labor parts. All these can be set within each of the specific tasks. Those tasks are then set into maintenance plans, and those are kind of a bundling of various tasks. So you have those tasks established with the parameters that you want for those specifically, and then you put them into a bundle so that you can assign a group of tasks to your particular vehicles. In this example here, you have the lube, oil, and filter combined with rotating tires, combining with checking on brakes of that. At that point, once you've established your maintenance plan, that plan then is assigned to individual vehicles. And as it shows here, this particular plan is going to be assigned to a 2023 Black Ford Explorer. With that, once you have those established, then you can actually keep track of the maintenance needs of a vehicle through the dashboards. This is a screenshot of that main maintenance dashboard, and you're able to receive notifications in regards to tasks that are overdue, and have the ability even from the dashboard to launch work orders directly from there. Not only can you launch new work orders from the dashboard, but you also can do that from the manage maintenance screen. When you go into manage maintenance, there is a button there that you can click and to start a work order. that work order is generated, and the notifications are sent out to technicians if who are assigned to that, if you're keeping track of the technician times and responsibilities, or it's just there within the system for you to be able to track yourself. Once that maintenance is completed and the tasks within the work order are marked off and closed, and prices are calculated within the system and completion dates are entered, what ends up happening is that within the vehicle record of that particular vehicle, the maintenance schedule is updated, and so then you have the next time that vehicle is going to need to have service. Also, within an overview of FleetCommander's maintenance module, we have a number of reports that can be pulled from the information that is gathered through the work orders and the tasks that are tied to those individual vehicles. And then, of course, the benefits that go with this all. And you are able to, with the solution, you are better able to monitor, organize, and manage your activities, account for the maintenance operating costs. You're able to track your technician times, direct and indirect times, if you choose to track that type of data. Ultimately, the benefit of using the solution will allow you to reduce your asset downtime. It reduces the maintenance expenses, extends the useful life of your assets. It ultimately gives you a greater efficiency of running your fleet, improves your customer service and what your customers think of you and your operation. It gives you visibility and able to analyze based upon the reports that you have in the system and the data that are presented on the dashboards, and you have the all important accountability and audit trails. So the setup, to make this all work? Like we said, when you start using the maintenance module for the first time, prior to that, you're going to be going through implementation training, and our implementation team is going to walk you through these 7 standard setups. There is the need to create a provider or your vendors within FleetCommander. You'll need to update your user permissions, specifically in regard to your technicians and your shop managers, so that they have access to the maintenance dashboards and have the ability to have tasks assigned to them from the various providers that you have listed within FleetCommander. There's also the need to create parts. We're not going to dive deep into parts today, but you do have to have at least one default part set up in order to keep track of costs on the work orders. Then we'll end up going into that big 3 that we mentioned earlier of creating tasks, creating maintenance plans, assigning maintenance plans to vehicles, and then there's also a similar function where you are creating scheduled tasks for specific vehicles. What does this look like? Well, with creating the providers, this is basically setting up who is the vendors within FleetCommander that you rely upon for either service for parts, or if you're using the risk management module with FleetCommander, it also relies upon that portion too. So we'll end up setting up an example, a sample vendor here in the presentation, but you would end up naming the vendors and identifying the key information about that particular vendor. This is done through configure providers. Click on configure. If you have an enterprise admin rights, you'll see this. If you don't have admin rights, specifically enterprise admin, you're not going to see this particular portion. And you see where there's providers, you click on that, and then you go into a list of all the providers that are entered in FleetCommander. Now, if you're new, this list is not going to look like this. It'll actually be a blank, and all you'll have is the add new. But for the site that I used, it's pretty lengthy. It shows that you're able to filter these out based upon that. If a provider is a service provider, parts supplier, or risk management, as we mentioned earlier. And you're able to filter through the various providers that are here within the listing on that. You see that the key information that is found within each of these providers include the name, primary contact, phone number, address, city, country, state, postal code. You also can give a rating to the providers. Say that you have the three service providers that provide the similar service. Maybe they do brake repairs, and you have one that you favor over another. You can give them a rating, alphabetical A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3. That could be added in there as you see fit, so that you can communicate who's your preferred vendor. And then also have within each record the ability to sort the presentation, so what order you see these providers, and then the all important, is it an active provider or not. You can have the records of a provider that you used in the past, but you're not using any longer. You can deactivate that so it doesn't actually show up as an option within the process. But if you need to add a vendor, the process on that is that you click on add and you get this blank screen that you're able to fill out, including the name, the type of provider, the sites that are going to use within FleetCommander that will use this particular vendor. You have the ability to establish default reason codes if applicable. You also have an area to record the information of that particular provider. And then there's at the bottom of the screen, there's secondary contact information if you want to fill that out. And then as you see there at the bottom, the all important active or not active on that. So you would want to make sure to always check that if you're planning on using this vendor, and then save the changes. At that point, you have a rate tab that is activated, and if you want to put in default charges, you put up to a total of 4 rates. Again, make sure that you always click on save before you proceed. Otherwise, the information that you put in there is going to disappear. After hitting save, you go back. It takes you back to that main list. As you can see at the bottom, it gives you a list shows you that this is presenting the first 20 of 175 vendors, and you can scroll through those to see the additional vendors. But also, you have the ability to filter and search for specific vendors. In this case, this particular button here will actually allow you to change the alphabetical order of the list. But then there's also special filters that are found where you can search by words that start with a certain letter, or the search result that's equal to or not equal to contains on that. So, if you wanted to search for all of your vendors that start with N, you can do that, and you can end up finding Napa on that. Or if you want to find that new vendor that we just added, and you type in, it contains the word Joe, and you've got Joe's service shop set up on that. Ultimately, the main thing that you do want to bear in mind is that there does need to be at least one default vendor or provider set up within the system, and one that we typically use within our Agile Success site is the A1 Transportation Services on that. And having a default provider really helps simplify the process. It's kind of the go-to on that, but those providers can be changed if you need to while you're going through the work order process on that. The next thing that's important to do as part of that 7 steps of setup includes updating the user profiles. The reason why is that in order for really the provider to be a usable provider, not only does it need to be active, it actually needs to be tagged to your primary users on your staff, including yourself as an admin, your technicians, your shop manager. And so to do that, you will end up going to manage users. And as you can search for a specific person if you want to. In this case, we're going to search for my friend Lincoln, and click filter. It drills it down to only one person whose name is Lincoln within our system here. And by clicking on the edit icon, that the pencil there, it takes you into that user profile. And then at that point, what you're looking for is that permissions level. You go into the permissions level and you're going to see that there is a enterprise maintenance setting as well as a site level maintenance setting. This gives this user the access into the maintenance portion of FleetCommander on that. And you really need to make the decision, are you going to want a person to only be working with one of your sites if you happen to have multiple sites, or if you want them to have access to all the sites. The easiest way to do that, if you want them to be able to use the maintenance module through all the sites that you're managing through FleetCommander, then go ahead and use the enterprise maintenance as your choice on there. And that way you don't have to go through and click through potentially dozens of sites and to update that permission level. Now, the next portion that needs to happen, though, is specific to the providers that we set up previously. You have to actually map the service providers to your staff, and that's through that provider level tab. By clicking on that, you can see that under each provider, you have an option of either being a provider technician or a provider administrator. The purpose of this is that once a technician or an admin is designated and mapped, they are able to actually have access to the various tasks or work orders that are related to that particular provider. And just like you might have multiple sites that you need to scroll down to on the earlier tab, your list can be pretty lengthy in regards to the various providers. And so in order to jump to the right vendor, you can use Control and F and do a search, and it will take you directly to that. That's a function that I've used on several different portions in FleetCommander where I might have a very long list and I'm looking for a specific line on that. So the question, should you set somebody up as a provider administrator or a provider technician on that? In most cases, it's going to end up being that it's the provider technician if you are designating such and interacting with the technician tracking of time and items like that. What happens though is ultimately it makes a difference in regards to what they see on their dashboard. This is a screenshot of the technician dashboard. With being designated on a specific provider, you're able to track assigned tasks, track direct time, indirect time, create new work orders, and interact with those specific providers through this dashboard for that particular technician. Whereas if you choose and designate somebody as a administrator, they're going to have then access to the shop manager dashboard where there's more responsibility. It's similar. It's similar that you have tasks and responsibilities that can be looked at, but in this case, you're actually able to distribute the work to the techs, and you're able to organize, prioritize, tasks. You're able to track a tech's time, create and manage work orders from that. But it's also something we want to bear in mind too, is that accessibility is not limited to just the shop manager or to the provider administrator, but that also goes for enterprise administrators in general. They'll have the same access that a provider would have, administrator would have, and a provider technician would have in regards to those features. So you may choose to simply click as an enterprise administrator. I don't recommend that though, because in doing it that way, because remember, an administrator, enterprise administrator has access to everything within FleetCommander, not just specific to the maintenance module. This setting really should be left and restricted to just a very few individuals within your organization, because they could go in and change things like the welcome page, or go into a user profile and read the information that's in there. So like we said, to start off this portion of it, most likely what you're going to do is you're going to be giving, enterprise maintenance permissions to those that are your technicians and your shop managers. But I do recommend that you also give them driver requester privileges too, because in doing that, they are able to actually make maintenance reservations. Now, making maintenance reservations is separate and apart from the actual maintenance module. It is just a way for you to designate why a vehicle is not in service, where it's sent out, and it can work along with the maintenance module, but it does stand as a standalone function within FleetCommander for those that are not even using the maintenance module. And that is tracked through the maintenance usage types. And the next step in regards to creating parts, at least one part needs to be set up within FleetCommander as a default. On that, the process is similar. It goes through configuration. But in this case, instead of, you go right above the providers portion, we're into maintenance, and then you see there is additional pull-down menu, including the parts portion. When you click on that, it goes to a similar screen as we saw earlier in regards to providers, where you see all that are listed within FleetCommander. In this case, it's the parts. You can add their new parts by clicking on that, and as we said, you want to have at least one default part within the system. And we had this in our system already set up for some time ago. On that, you're keeping track of the part names, the various components and the portions in regards to that part, and click with save, and it adds it to the list. And you can search for that part by even putting in the name, clicking on filter, and it will drill down and give you where to go back into that particular part if you need to review that at a later date. Now we're to the portion of the roadmap in regard to that big 1, 2, and 3 of scheduling maintenance in FleetCommander. We've looked at creating providers, we looked at updating user permissions, we looked at creating parts. It's with this established, you then actually go in and you create your tasks, create your maintenance plans, and are able to assign maintenance plans to vehicles. So creating tasks, again, from the dashboard, you click on configuration, you go to that maintenance, and this time you click on tasks. Again, it presents you in the browser of all the particular parts of all the tasks that are within the system. If you're starting off, this may be something that is blank, or it may be something that we have configured for you as part of the information that you give to us on the various tasks that you use at your shop, at your operation. And in this case, we see that some of the information that can be shown on this screen includes the task name, if it is a preventive maintenance or if it's a repair type of maintenance. You can then have the cadence in which these repairs should occur based upon mileage or based on days. You can also set up warning miles and days to let you know that service needs to be done soon. But in order to do this, you of course again go into add new to start the process. From there, the top of the page is going to have your main information, whereas the bottom of the page is going to contain information in regards to parts and sublets and other defaults on that. We're just going to focus on the top page portion of the page today. So you've got to again make the choice to start off with. Is this going to be considered a preventive maintenance, or this is a general repair for this kind of task? Once you decide that, you give the task a name. You can pull down in regards to the default provider. You can then also indicate a labor code on that. You can then also choose the total cost of ownership subcategory. And this is a new feature. I've actually, to do this presentation, I went in and found our old maintenance presentation that we've been using, and total cost of ownership, and this field has been added since we last refreshed that deck. And so this is a way for you to keep track of your costs and make full use of the total cost of ownership portion of FleetCommander. You do, of course, want to make sure that you activate this task. If you don't activate it, it's not going to be something that you can have accessible at your fingertips while going through the work order process. And then also, this is a section where you set that frequency for the service and the warning miles. Make sure that you hit save. Always want to make sure you do that, otherwise you just went through a process for no reason. Next portion, now that you have your task or multiple tasks set up in FleetCommander, you can then assign those to a maintenance plan. In this case, what we're going to do is we're going to set up an example and name it 15 passenger van, and it's going to consist of the oil, lube oil and filter, and as well as rotate tires. And all these the default costs and thresholds, they're pulled into the plan, but these can be adjusted at the time of assigning them to your vehicles. So what does that process look like? Again, you go through configure, you go to maintenance, and click on the maintenance plans. And the list now is a lot smaller than some of the ones that we're looking at earlier. In this case, we only had 2 of them set up within FleetCommander. We had a plan that was set up for vehicles that were diesel. We also had a plan that was set up for vehicles that ran on gas. But we want to have one that's specific to our 15 passenger vans. So click on add. You have the ability to put in a name and activate that. Once you hit save, this is kind of where the magic occurs. The tasks that you have within FleetCommander then pull up those active tasks, and you're able to just click and add them to this particular plan. As part of the process too, you can change the frequency and the warning miles on that, and then of course save those changes. When that happens, you then have this plan that's set up, and it shows you what that plan will look like, including the included tasks, which you can change and add to that at a future date if you want to. And then that plan shows up into your list, and then you have the ability to actually make use of that particular plan. So with the assigning it, we're going to assign this particular plan to vehicle 820623, which is a 2023 black Chevy Express. To do this, you're going to be going into manage vehicles and then ultimately into the maintenance tab and click on plan. So click on manage, click on vehicles, and then you see the maintenance tab. Go into that, and the first time you go into a vehicle that has no plan established to it, it's going to tell you that there's no current maintenance task for this asset. So click on plan to add that. You're going to get a drop-down menu that shows you the plans that you have available to you. Remember, we wanted to use our new one, the 15 passenger van plan, and it will then show you what those tasks are as part of that specific plan and the initial performance date. It shows the mileage for the first one that you established for your work order, and then it keeps tracking based upon those cadences of mileage or months, depending upon how you want to do that. Now, along with this, we then have a similar process, which is creating scheduled tasks. The plans are those bundled tasks. You may have those specific tasks like inspections that may need to occur at a specific time every year. And with those scheduled tasks, you have that ability to do that. So you move from the section of within the vehicle profile that has plans, and you move into that scheduled tasks portion. Again, it's going to show you that there's actually nothing assigned currently to it. So you click on add scheduled tasks, and as you do that, the interface is a lot different than what we've seen before. But the basic information is still there. You have your pull down menus where you can to decide what specific task is being done, who the vendor is going to be for that. You can click on and have the starting date through this interactive calendar. You're able to enter in your number of occurrences or how often you want this task to happen. The morning days before that give you the system will give you an alert that this is coming up, and then the intervals on that. How that ends up looking in this case is, we're going to do an emissions inspection at Joe's service shop. The starting on that was going to be on the 17th of May this year. We're going to allow for 5 occurrences, and we want to be warned 14 days ahead, and ultimately want this to be done on the 15th of every May. And so then what you have within the system is it's going to end up showing you the that this has been added to that vehicle profile. And if you want to, you can actually click and show the upcoming events that when this inspection is scheduled to occur. And you can see here also that you have that ability to add it to a work order from the actual within the vehicle profile of this particular asset. You can also edit it or just strike it from the schedule. This is that main portion within FleetCommander of establishing and setting this up. So let's see what kind of questions that we have at this point.
Well, John, we had a few questions, but I think they generally all worked out at this point. Cameron from Cornell had a question about accounts flowing through onto the work order. And I believe that's a configuration item. So you have to have the account field on the vehicle, the data populated, and then once you create the work order, it should pull that up into the work order. So I believe Kathy's going to reach out to him and chat with him afterwards. Okay. Cindy had a question about they have a paging issue with the providers table, and there is a workaround. I put it in the chat, but basically if you select all the providers, you can then search and page. But there is a fix coming in 5.11. And yep. Walter had a question about just having access to the maintenance tab. So I've sent them an email on that to set up time and review that with him because they don't have maintenance today. Mm-hmm. And that was all the questions we had today.
Excellent. Well, yes, that providers issue is actually something I ran into as I was preparing this and working with Steve Mentor from the implementation team who used the maintenance module while he was at his former employer. He told me that the fix was in the works and should be coming out with our next release. And in fact, I actually went and tested it, and it has been fixed. So you should see that coming to your version of FleetCommander pretty soon. So no other questions at this point. Well, then, Joe, do you want to walk through the tail end here, or you want me to wrap it up?
John, if you did such a great job, you can wrap it up. I'm good with that. Well, you're a star. You're a pro.
Thank you, Joe. I'm all grown up now. The training wheels have been taken off, and I can do this on my own.
Well, John does a great job. I always like to chime in anyway during these, but given that I was late and held up in a different meeting, it's all yours, my friend.
All right. Well, then, just want to remind you that we're here, the client success team, to help you get the most out of FleetCommander, to help you enhance your experience on that. So we are here to help you with implementing new features. As we said, if you're not currently using the maintenance module, and this coming into this was kind of a way for you to get familiar with it, then reach out to Joe, reach out to Kathy, and we'll be happy to get this set up for you. And then the implementation team, which is actually a team that I'm working with now, we'll take it from there to help you go through those configurations through those trainings, so you're not doing that all on your own. We have, as a company, we have the expertise to help you to fine tune your operations, and part of that fine tuning may be more intense refresher training. So if this was something you went, oh wow, this really helped me remember a lot of stuff in regards to the maintenance module, but I want even more, a full training session on that, then we can help that. That's perfect for your new and existing staff, and we can help train you further on the maintenance module, help train you further in regards to vehicle sharing, whatever you need. Again, reach out to Joe or Kathy. They'll help you with that, and we'll tailor the training to your site and to your needs. We can help you add other modules to FleetCommander. We mentioned the risk management module that makes uses of the provider section that we covered today. That's something that if you're interested in tracking your accidents, we can assist you with that. Or if you have fuel, and bringing fuel into that, you want to start tracking that within FleetCommander, so that you can actually make use of that total cost of ownership portion, which is a free portion of FleetCommander. It's not an added module. It's something that we created so that that you can use that to manage your fleet. That or billing algorithms, we can add those for you if you are going to start bill backs and chargebacks for your vehicle sharing. And also, if you're not currently using kiosks and keybox, that is the end all. That is the be all of our system. You can run the system by handing out those keys yourself. I did that using FleetCommander for 10 years myself, but the key control system really helps to streamline that and make full use of FleetCommander's automation. With in addition to that, I want to remind you, Workshop Wednesday, what's coming up next. We're going to be doing reports that you should be using. We've mentioned at the beginning of the presentation some of the reports that are specific to the maintenance module. Don't think we're going to get deep into that. We'll save that for a later time, but we're going to be going through the main and primary reports that you should be using. This is something that we share with our new clients when they come out of implementation and they're part of adoption, as the client success team is helping them get running and we're using FleetCommander. But we're going to focus that for those of you that may have not been through the implementation process as we're currently doing that, and the adoption process as CS currently does that. And that's going to be June the 17th. And you also see the sessions that we did earlier. They're actually linked within here. So once you go into and retrieve this document from the share folder, this will be an easy way for you while you're going through this session, reviewing it, click on these to go to get that information. And then earlier in 2022, we've got the list of other ones that we did. Like I said, this all started off in March, so we're up and running now. And I want to encourage you, if you have not ever attended user conference, meet us down in Knoxville this year, in September 26th through the 28th. It is a great opportunity for you to meet up with the people that are here on this call, your colleagues. I know that Cameron has attended in the past, and I hope is able to attend again. It was something that I always enjoyed, being able to meet up with with each of the staff from Agile and also others in the industry. And so this is the link here to register.
And just one other comment, and that is, we're doing something a little bit new this year. So the day before the conference starts, that's Tuesday the 26th, the whole afternoon is going to be dedicated to FleetCommander training. So, if it's something that you're thinking about, that you want some training, you have some folks that might benefit from training, it would definitely be a worthwhile opportunity for them to kind of get into the application in more detail, as well as learn some cool new stuff. So hopefully we'll see you there.
Yep. And as you can see, once you click on that link, it takes you to the more information. We've got the agenda already set up, and we're going to have breakout sessions this year. That's a new thing based upon the feedback that we received from the attendees. And so we're real excited about this session. Other resources that we have for you, we've got our new agilefleet.com. It has multiple online resources. It's been revamped as of January. It has a new look. If you've not been there, go take a look and see what we're doing, the changes that we have. And also, one of the big things that we're doing new is with Kathy. She is running a quarterly webinar that's focused on higher ed from her experience as a fleet manager at a university. And as you can see, it really is going to run in hand in hand with our presentation today, where she's going to be focusing on running a vehicle maintenance shop in a higher ed environment. And we want to encourage you to be a thought leader. Help share your ideas, help share your successes. Client Success is here to help you in doing that. We want to hear from you in regards to what works for you, what doesn't work for you in your fleet in general, and also specific to FleetCommander. And our team is here to assist you. If you need help from the technical staff, they will be happy to assist you. Give them a call at 571-498-7555 extension 2. Make sure it's extension 2 when you do that, and it goes directly to them. And if you want to get their attention, also, if you sent an email to fcsupport@agilefleet.com, it actually jumps right into the ticket tracking. And so they're on the clock as soon as they receive your email. And then again, feel free to reach out to the Client Success team. And finally, feedback. Please, please, please help us make Workshop Wednesday better and better and better with your feedback. Let us know what topics you want to hear from. Let us know what topics you don't want to hear about. Let us know something, and we will do what we can to.
Please do. Yes,
that.
please.
Yep. And that, we
really do appreciate your feedback. Honestly, we really do. And if you can just kind of take a minute or two and tell us what you like, what you don't like. This is for you. At the end of the day, this session is all about you. And so we want to make sure that we're providing the content to help you learn and to help you better, understand and utilize FleetCommander. So it would be great if you could, give us a little bit of help there. So thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was not long-winded today, which is a good thing, because you might have noticed I'm kind of struggling breathing right now. My asthma is really giving me some fits. So Kathy, is there anything that you want to say before we close this out?
I think you did an amazing job. Thank you so much for doing that. And I really look forward to folks joining me in June. We're going to dig a little deeper into shop management and so forth in the university setting. So it's always great to see you on these calls and on these abilities to learn and offerings that we have. So thanks for being our client. Thanks for joining us. And great job, John, and great job as well, Joe, for monitoring the chat there.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, y'all, and we will look forward to seeing you again next month.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.